Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to No Brush Required, guys. It's episode 23. I'm Tamara Grant, and along with my co-host, Barbara Reade, who I'm just going to grab right now. There she is. We're excited to have you join us on a chat today with a guest.
Is it episode 23?
It is episode 23.
Ooh,
I know, we're consistent, if not anything else. We're doing a great job at consistency. So you guys have probably seen in our post this week, we have a guest coming to join us to chat, and I'm going to invite him on in just a second. There'll be lots of opportunities for questions later. I think Barbara and I are going to try to chat for a little bit first and see what we have in common and see where the conversation meanders. And then we will ask you guys for opportunities to ask questions a little bit later. Alrighty? Mm-hmm. So we're not going to talk about the weather today. We're just going to get right to the meat of things. We're Canadians. We talk about the weather a lot. You go ahead and do the intro.
Well, I'm super excited, as I know a lot of you are as well, to have our guest on today, who is Nicholas Wilton, who I have had the great pleasure of meeting in person once. And something that really stuck with me, just how kind he is in person. As kind as he is when you see him in his videos online, whether it be in his workshops and his website, Instagram, he's the real deal. But the way that I first encountered Nick was a few years ago when I retired from teaching. And I thought, it's time to get back into my art making. I hadn't made art in, close to 3 decades. And so I picked up my paintbrushes and I started to make paintings, or at least try and make paintings. And I really struggled. Sometimes they worked. More often than not, they tanked. And I could not figure out what the secret sauce was. Why were some things working? I couldn't even identify it. And I'm someone who went to art school. I did that 4-year program in illustration many years ago. And I still didn't know what it meant to become an artist. So one day I did the old online search. What are the top online workshops for art? And Art to Life came up in the top 10. In fact, it might have even been the first one. So I went into the website, learned a lot about Nick, learned a lot about what he had to offer. And when he released his free workshop, I jumped right in there. And I have to say, from that day forward, everything changed for me. It was a game changer. And we're going to find out more when we bring on Nick. Are we ready?
He's just been invited, and
we are.
Welcome, Nick.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to Canada.
Hey, thanks. I like this better. It's warm, but I'm in Canada.
Yeah, you are. You're getting the nice side of Canada.
Yeah.
See, we talked about the weather. We can't help ourselves. Canadians always talk about the weather.
We're going to have you saying A before you know it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Within a few sentences, but we are so excited to have you on here, Nick.
It's just a joy to be here, and it's so nice to see you again. And yes, I remember meeting you up there in Ancaster. So
yes,
thanks so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So we want to dive right in because we know that you have lots of great stories to tell and so much to share. So how did this whole Art to Life thing get going?
Well, it just really, and it was funny because I just recorded a podcast episode about this last night. So it's pretty, and it always comes up, this thought always comes up when we're getting ready for doing the free workshop and everything, because it's grown, and it's just become this really cool thing with a lot of people, like you guys are involved and there's more people involved. But it really started, totally for me. I mean, I've always made art, but probably 15 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, just a collision of really hard things happened in my life, catalyzed by an economic pullback here in the United States. It was like 2008, I think. And I was working as an illustrator and everything. And all that work dried up. Everything went away. And so I had sort of wrapped my identity around being this illustrator. And then it all went away, and we lost all of our money. Our family did. I had saved up money. I had this dream of becoming a fine artist, and I didn't really believe I could make a living doing it. So I thought, well, I'll just save all this money. And anyway, what happened was that, you know, we lost all the money. We had I lost my work. I lost, I was doing this business. I had started this wholesale gift business with my art, with my illustration, with some friends, and that blew up, and we sued each other. And the worst thing, when my marriage fell apart, I mean, I completely hit rock bottom. I lost my confidence in the deepest possible way. You know, you hear about people like, oh, come on, just get out of bed, get going. I mean, I just couldn't. But the only thing that was sort of left for me was the fact that I always had done art. And so I started to use art to kind of put myself back together again. And it was the process of doing that, like, art making for me had always been kind of like something I was able to do on the side, and I was good at it, and I made my living. I was an illustrator, but I was never really connected to it in a deep way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Absolutely.
This was like, I was doing it, and at first it was just a way to distract myself, right? And but then, you know, you make a couple things that you like, and it's like, well, I'm not completely worthless. I mean, look, I've made those things. I'm improving. You know?
Getting better.
And anyway, this thing just started to gain momentum for me. And I ended up, you know, I ended up renting a studio, which was so scary to do because I didn't have the money. But I got this studio, and then I thought, well, I could sell some work. Maybe I could keep going. And I got a gallery. But it was the process of putting my art together, the intentionality of it, and taking notes about what was working and what was working. But really it was incorporating it into my life in a way that I hadn't before. And I started to come out of this tailspin, and then I started to coach people, because I discovered, like, I found my calling. I lost all my money, and my dream was to do fine art, and suddenly I was doing it, you know. And I was selling some work, and I mean, I wasn't killing it, but I could afford a studio. I started teaching. I gained my confidence through my art, and I saw how this could be helpful for other people. And I was so excited about it. It was like a freaking miracle. So I started coaching groups of people in a mentorship program, and what I learned doing that became the basis of Art to Life. The principles, the mindset, the intentionality, the community, having the right kind of mix of things made all the difference. And that was the beginning of Art to Life. Yeah, so it, you know, losing everything qualified me, gave me the education I needed to coach people, because I've been there. So that's sort of the beginning of it, you know. And it's kind of, I'm completely grateful. I'm utterly amazed that all of this has come out of it was such a broken, hard time. I mean, I cannot tell you, you know. So it'll stand out as one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. Absolutely. And I get to stay buoyed up by you guys and everyone on this call. And I feel like we're doing this together, and that's what it is. That's what Art to Life is.
So it was really born out of adversity.
Absolutely.
Which kind of aligns with our last couple of years with COVID.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, you think, how much worse can times get? But, you know, did we ever think a pandemic would kind of hit us?
Right. Right.
So how did that impact Art to Life? Did you have to pivot or make any changes, or?
Well, I was just so damn excited that what I discovered was, when people set an intention, when they're given the right information, when they're given some support, they can actually do what they want. You can achieve incredible things. I mean, this isn't about luck. You know, luck is created out of bravery and moving forward. And we just need to deal with some limiting beliefs we have and be around the right people. And this is not something about talent at all. This is about mindset and what lights you up. You know, there was a real connection. All I was doing back then was, well, most things had been taken out of my life that I didn't have a lot left in there, but I focused on what I loved. And that's where we start in all of our programs. And it's something I'll be talking a lot about in the free Art to Life workshop. That that when you focus on what brings you alive, well, that brings you alive, and that's the place you want to be making your art from, because the art making is a personal expression. And yes, you need principles and you need basic academic art information, you know, and I teach that, but you also need the part about you that you bring to it, and that's hard for people. That's not really taught. So
I think you give people permission to do that by being vulnerable and by being such a cheerleader for them, because in all aspects of life, people have a hard time being vulnerable. People have a hard time stepping out of that. Why should I be able to do this? Why me? You know, the whole imposter syndrome thing. It's very hard for a lot of people to step up.
No,
and
absolutely.
do it.
It was hard for me. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I remember there's a comment here about, you know, how do you just sell your work and everything? Well, this relates completely to selling your work. When I was so focused on like, I didn't really have an alternative plan to this art making thing. And so galleries would come to the studio. I remember one in particular, and, you know, they come in and I really needed a gallery, and the guy's looking at my work, and I'd done all these big paintings, and it was strong work. I mean, I put everything into it, and he's kind of kicking the tires, not really, you know, not really saying anything, which I hate that, you know, it's like, come on, like, and I'm standing there.
Give me something.
Yes. And I remember, and I don't know where this voice came from, because basically it was like, listen, you know, it's fine if this work doesn't totally resonate with you, but like, I'm actually looking for someone who can work as hard as I am into partnership. And like, it's fine if you don't get this, but I am going to kill it in the art world with my art. And if you want to be part of this, you can. But if not, totally fine. But you need to leave because I got a lot of work to do. A very different pivot, right? It's operating from a place of fire. And that's something that we need to cultivate in ourselves. And that comes from making our art. Creativity is a force of change. And I never thought of it that way. And that's what Art to Life teaches. It's way beyond like, you know, learning how to mix colors. Yes, we need all that, but that's not exactly the most potent thing. And so that's, most people don't realize that, you know, when they come into the programs, but that's what, I mean, I think you guys understand that now, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, adversity, a lot of people shy away from moving on from adversity. That's the hard thing. And I've had a very difficult time as well, 5 or 6 years ago. And for me, it's always been, why the hell not now? And you know, what's the worst that can happen? The worst has already happened in my life. You know, it's got to be up from here.
Yeah. And it's, you know, the play mentality and it's like, what's wrong with chasing something that you really, really care about, that really, really matters? In fact, it's such a healthy thing to do. And it's so inspiring for your kids and other people. You know, I really, it gets a bad rap, you know, that we feel guilty that, you know, I'm doing something, it's so self-indulgent, but it's, man, it's like, if I hadn't, you know, believed in the possibility for myself, it actually now, like, there's a lot of people that Art to Life has impacted in a positive way, and none of that would have happened, you know.
No, thousands. I meant to include that in my introduction, but I just got too excited. But yeah, literally thousands, Nick. I mean, honestly, every episode we have done, I would say without fail, you have been referenced as part of the discussion.
Wow, that's really great. And you know, we're just reminding people this isn't like some, you know, ordained thing coming down from it. It's just it resonates because it's in us, you know. It's like when I say it's not about talent, I know that there's a lot of limiting beliefs around that, but you know, if you're still in this game, you know that you haven't given up. You're like, it just needs to be brought out of you, you know, like, and that's the truth, you know, like that's not some special anything. That's just something that it feels right. And it is true. And I know it to be true. And I've seen it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, you know,
10,000
and that's convincing. That's helpful for someone to come across who's wondering, who's not sure. You know, certainty, there's certain things in this art thing. I mean, most of it's a crapshoot in terms of you don't know what you're going to make. You never made it before. But there's principles and ideas and there's certainty in it that you can really lean into. And that's what we got to focus on in order to pull this off, you know.
I love that. I think it was with your conversation with Sandra recently.
Yeah.
when you talked about you don't plan anything. And I thought, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Really?
You,
You guys don't either. Yeah.
I'm like that, Nick. I do not plan anything. So I kind of sometimes feel that's a really unscholarly approach, Barb. You need to give your head a shake and plan. But when you said, I thought, no, I'm not changing anything.
No, and when I plan, it goes off the rails. It goes off the rails right away. The painting has its own idea, and it's not what I think it should be.
Yeah. Now, is that new for you, Nick, or did you used to plan your paintings ahead of time, or?
I always, I used to plan illustrations that was sort of my career. I definitely had an idea. I needed to have an idea of where I was going. So for me, the fine art idea was always that I could just do whatever I wanted. And in the beginning, I would kind of figure it out a little bit, but it was much more, I'd leave a lot more open and it would change. But I was just struggling so much trying to get the thing to work. I'd take any variation, but I really enjoy now. You see, once you get that, when you don't know where you're going and you don't know what to do, you have to kind of hunch. You have to make a guess. And when you guess, you have to use your intuition. And what I learned and what I see in people is when we use our intuition, because no one else is there and our intuitions are our own, those marks and the creativity that comes out of the intuition is very personal. And when it's personal, it's different. And when it's different, it sells because no one else does that. And it feels like you. So yeah, I like to learn, find my way as I go is how I describe it. I try to do that in a lot of ways in my life. Art to life is nothing but a big, feel what's good. And, this conversation is a confirmation of that. It's like, God, that was so fun. So I'll do more of those, that kind of thing. So, paying attention to what you love and what works, and just sort of improvising a little bit, is really, you don't want to just do stuff that isn't good because it just happens. You want to change it, but that's what I sort of do. So yeah, I'm definitely, I try to use intuition more and more. I love it. I love the surprise of it,
Yeah. And I love that you make the connection to life. Like, it's not just about your art making, but do more of what feels good. Like if it makes you happy, lights you up in your art, in your life, I think it's phenomenal.
But so many people don't do that. So many people wait to do that. They're waiting for the right time or for their retirement or when they have more money or when the kids go away to college. Sorry, that's me right now.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, and again, here, we all know this, like, if your soul wants something, and I love the thing, like, soul is the inner part of you. It doesn't actually care whether it's a convenient time or whether there's money in it, or when I was it just tells you, like, I want to do this, and it's not too loud. Like, it'll patiently wait for a year, it'll wait for 10 years, it'll wait forever, but the tug is always there. And I know you guys know this, like, I felt it, and it was just like, it made no sense at all to go into more debt to rent that bigger studio. But the soul, the tug was like, do this, man. Just trust me on this one. And so art making is a process of listening to the innermost part of ourselves. That's what the practice is. And that's how the journey happens. And actually the byproduct of doing that really well is very cool art. But it happens because we're listening to who we are and who we are going to become. Right? Like, that's a relationship with this new person that we don't know yet. And a lot of times we don't want to know them and we put them off and they seem too different. But that's the person we're becoming. It's the best version of ourselves. And not everyone's going to answer that, but that's the invitation. And it's your soul. And and the thing is, you can do a little bit of this. Like, you don't have to, like, have endless hours. You can just take small little steps, and that can feel really great, so what? So you have to work 50 hours a week. You still have, an hour a lunch break or half an hour a couple times a week. that will make you feel better. Anything that answers the call, the pull of the soul, even going to someone's studio, even people listening on this call, it's actually helpful. Maybe you're not making your art or you're a little stuck, but hearing about what you guys are doing and what we're talking about, there's like a little, it's like a step forward, and that's helpful. It's just a progression, little small steps. So that's what we coach. That's how we get people to, that's what you've guys, look how far you've gone. Look what you're doing and how you're inspiring people. Those were small steps. And all they said, they sort of add up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
You know, when you
on
think
us,
about
Tamara.
Good for us. Good for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this.
Well,
No,
we
it's great.
never anticipated doing this, and it has become something that has been just the highlight.
Yeah,
me,
it
sure.
really grows you. You know,
Yeah.
it really grows you in a way when you involve other people and
Yes.
people are giving you feedback and you're helping people and figuring out what is helpful and, you know, where your edge is. It's so it's inspiring what you guys are doing, really.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We've never met in real life. This all started on Instagram with the
That's right.
We were
Tamara and
chatting
I have
behind
never
the
met.
scenes. We were chatting behind the scenes and we said we should have a conversation. And I said, let's do it live on Instagram. And we're like, okay.
Wow, you guys, that's so great. That's so great.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's helped us for sure, and it's helped other people just get through these awful COVID days when you're often very isolated. So it's a great way to reach out. Community's huge for you, Nick. I know that's something that your whole community building and.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just, you get a bunch of like-minded people in the room that are willing to help each other. You know, Art to Life is all about helping people and you know, learning from helping people. First of all, there's this huge personal benefit, you know, and then being helped. So that idea that in a community of people that it's because we're all different and we're all unique already, and that's what we're mining to make our own personal work, that there's no reason to be competitive anymore, because I can't, you know, I can't make your work and you can't make mine. So you just stand and cheerlead people and help them, and they'll help you. And so, yeah, we make a lot of progress when we're around others. I love that. That was something that was missing for me. You know, I had to do it all by myself, and I couldn't really find anyone that was further along that wanted to help, you know.
I don't know how, honestly, I was thinking about this earlier today. How you came up with the secret sauce, the magic ingredients that create strong work, because so many of us flounder and look at a painting and go, I hate it. I don't know why it's not working. It's working. How the heck did you do that? I was totally by myself in this pretty small studio most of the time, and I was going crazy. And I love this. I love being around people. I think it was just, you know, I chose a great career because I love art, but you know, it wasn't good because I was alone all the time. And so I had this idea that, well, I know I'll teach a workshop, and I wanted to go to this place called Esalen. It's this amazing retreat center on the Big Sur coast. I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but I never could afford to go there as a person, a regular guest. But I heard through a friend that if you had a workshop, they'd let you go for free, and you'd make a little money. But it was really, I just wanted to go. They have these amazing hot springs and the food and the garden, you know. So I pitched a course, and the only thing I knew anything about really was art. And I had spent, you know, I was trying to figure out my fine art, and I had all these notes and, you know, trying to understand what worked and what didn't, and really the relative strength of the things I was doing. That was the difference, you know, like some things I would do didn't seem to do anything. I'd change the color all day long. It never really helped. And other things changed it right away. You know, I even thought it was, sometimes my art would be better because of the things I ate. I mean, I wrote everything down, you know. More vegetables.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, if I run in the morning, then I'm so confident, then I'll paint better. I mean, but anyway, so I called together what I've been teaching, what I've been learning, and I simplified it. I only had a week. And those were the Art to Life principles. I mean, I just sort of wrote it very simply, and then I taught it. And in the beginning, you know, the people that came to these workshops, they were just on vacation and, you know, oh, let's take an art class. So I'd get all kinds of people, mostly not artists, you know. Yeah. But the work these people made, and they hadn't any experience, and their work even looked kind of their work was personal at the end of the week. Like they were into it, they were having fun, they were confident, and their work looked like them. I mean, like just for a week, I couldn't believe it because I studied art. I mean, I went to an amazing art school. I couldn't believe the progress that, you know, that guy who was an oral surgeon made, or this woman who was just a homemaker and she didn't want to do art, but she was there because her husband was. And so I knew I was onto something, and I love teaching. I love this. I love talking to people.
Yeah.
And it gave me a lot of support. It's like, my God, if these people can make progress, I must be able to do this. You know, I mean, it was selfish in a way. It gave me confidence. So I kept doing it, and I kept refining it. And these workshops started to grow in popularity. And it was really around 2016 when I decided to put it online that it started to reach more people, because I could only do 20 people at a time, you know, and do 5. I still do the destination workshops because they're so fun, but the impact
we want to go.
We want to go.
Right. It's really
we
fun.
want to go somewhere.
Yeah, me too.
Anywhere.
So the iterations of the teaching, you're learning to be a better coach, instructor.
Yeah.
Go, but I'm also curious, how does the teaching feed into the art? Because there's got to be some synergy between those two things, the Nick the artist and Nick the teacher, to keep you excited about doing both of them.
Yeah, they're for me, they're really similar. You know, I'm learning constantly. You know, I think the idea of being coachable, like that's a really good quality to be, you know, and I wasn't so coachable early on. I did everything myself, and through learning through people, and I have you know, I've had mentors that have helped me, you know, and I study with people still. And so I love that somebody can give you some information, you know, whether it's learning to play tennis or, you know, things that I don't do a lot of, but somebody's done a lot of, they spend more time doing it, and they can give you some information that can really, really help you. And like, boom, you walk away and you're better. And this is what the free Art to Life workshop, you know, on that is going to, that's what this does. That's what that information does. You can sit there and listen to this information and walk away in half an hour, and then look at that painting that you've been stuck on for 3 months and be able to fix it. Like that, I love that, because it's not always about slogging away year after year after year. It doesn't have to be so hard. Yeah. Like, that was a real surprise to me. So I've learned this, and I've tried things, and I've gotten better at simplify things by teaching, you know, doing less but more. And the same thing happens in my art, you know. How can I show up in a better way in my art, but maybe I don't have to be there all day long and just struggle so much. Maybe there's some other ways that I can approach this. And, you know, so it's all of that. But mostly what I get from teaching is the inspiration of seeing what other people are doing, the progress they're making. And I mean, I don't know, you know, like we create all those case studies, all those videos this time of year as the free Art to Life workshops coming, just showcasing what people are pulling off. And it brings me to tears, you know. It's like, it's amazing, you know. It just inspires me. I just find the whole thing, it's just so, makes everything so worthwhile. I think this is what we should be doing with our lives. I mean, this is like doing something that's meaningful and that impacts people, and that's what art is, you know.
Making a difference, right?
It's so it's bigger than just the little thing that we do on our kitchen table. It can be, and I think it does. It starts by impacting the people around you, and it certainly affects you, and then you go out into the world, and you know, you're more willing to say yes to things, you know what I mean? You're more willing to just accept people. You're more open. I think our art takes us from a more closed place to a more open place the more we go, and I think that's a good thing, you know.
You know, think of I have friends who, when I was a teacher, I used to be a teacher before I started doing this again, who had no idea I knew how to draw or paint or anything like that. And getting back into it, it kind of opened up a world for them as well, so that we can actually now have conversations about art. And you know, Roman and I will talk about abstract art, and you kind of bring it into other people's worlds in that way too, which is so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm in the coming out phase right now, because I have a whole other life. I work as a fitness instructor, a personal trainer health coach. And those people don't know that I'm also a painter. So I'm
Well,
in
they
the
should
process
now.
of coming out to my community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Phoebe Gander. I don't know if you guys know her,
Yes.
but
She's hilarious.
she was sharing with me that when she started her art, you know, started trying to make art, she created a completely fictitious Instagram account, you know, and so like I get it, you know, but when you bring on, and it's just a progression, you know, you're going to share this with everybody, and that's going to be a wonderful, you know, because actually what you're doing, you'll be surprised how related it is to your art. I mean, I think there's going to be some wonderful things that come from sharing what you're doing with those that you're teaching and training, and you know, but that's great, you know, it's a great first step. I knew someone who, she would never sign the front of her painting, and I asked her why one day, and she just broke down crying. You know,
Wow.
it was such a big step for her just to make the art in her family, and just how her family viewed the profession of art making. So she didn't want to own it, but she'd never really realized that she was sort of needing to, you know, it was just a giant step for her to make art. It was incredibly touching. You know, this isn't like baby stuff. This is hard things that's the opening, you know, it's like, it's an opening for yourself, and we just walk slowly into it, and it's beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
And embracing all the different facets of ourselves, because as you know, we grow up in a certain way and we're told that we're this member of the family and this is what we do, and
yes,
we're good at, and somebody else is the artist, somebody else is the pretty one, somebody's the smart one, and you kind of go along on those little trajectories for your life, and I'm just amazed that I've broken out of that and found these other things that I want to do.
Yeah,
but lots of people don't get that.
Right. And you'd be surprised, you know, because you're doing that, how many people it impacts. You know, it's really a gift to other people in a way when we expand what we think is possible for ourselves, you know?
Yeah. Should we open up for questions and see if there's anybody? I know I've seen lots of comments fly by.
Me too.
And
I see a question
following
from, I think it's, it says, do you structure your time in a schedule for just you and your studio? So yeah, so I'm pretty, yes, I do. So, but I sort of block everything, you know, like, I like to be able to do one thing at a time. So I've been this year especially, I've been really focusing on the curation of my time in a way, you know, like what I was doing before this call was really different than this call, because I knew I was going to be sitting here. So I was doing something really active, you know, it's that kind of thing. When is the best time for me to work? Well, it's not after, you know, doing live demos for 2 hours. It's after maybe something that's more sedentary, you know. So I choose time, and I spend time on the weekend kind of looking at the week ahead and trying to block it out a little bit. So it's definitely, yeah, I do. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how I do it.
You're curating your life as well as your art.
Well, exactly. And you'd be surprised how the kind of decisions you can make based on, if you look at your day, if you want to make an amazing day, and, you know, we all have crappy days, but, you know, I have a lot of control in a way on how this thing goes. And, you know, you have a couple of good days in a row, and suddenly that's a pretty good week. And you get in the habit of this thing, and you got a good life going, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to laugh, but we were talking ahead of time. And that was one of my questions I was going to ask you, because I think of the whole idea of what's a good life? What's a life that you're happy and satisfied with? And really, it's just a series of days that you're happy and satisfied with. So what do you need to put in a day to string a bunch of those together? And I was going to ask you that. What are the things in your day?
Yeah, like, you know, I sort of divide things up, and this is maybe getting off subject a little, but not really, because, you know, it's differences, right? And this is, yes, you know, I talk about this a lot. This is what the free workshop's about. Differences in art, if something's big against something small, or if a mark is really spontaneous next to one that's really controlling, that's exciting. It makes you feel, when you experience those differences, it makes you feel alive just a little bit. Certainly when you do it, but even when someone looks at it. So if you apply that out a little bit and to your life, and I know that I'm going to be quietly alone in a studio for a couple hours, listening to music on my headphones. It's almost like a yoga practice. What kind of activity would be good to do before that? Well, it's going to be one like this, that I'm talking, or one that I'm running, or a social thing, or, you know, so it's like, you know, I want to feel, I want to be connected. I want to feel connected to people. That's not like having dinner with somebody, doing this, talking to talking to artists. That makes me feel more connected. This is very different than doing my art, but I need this feeling in my day. I love this. I have a list of things like, did I laugh today? You know, you'd be surprised at how many days you can go through without actually laughing. When I teach a free workshop, when I teach a workshop like destination, everyone's there, and this occurs in the free workshop. It's just really funny. Like, a lot of stuff happens because there's all these people around, and I'm like, my face is sore from laughing so hard. But then once I get back, I'm sort of like, I don't think I've laughed today at all, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, but so you get the idea, you know, feeling gratitude. That's an important thing to like check in on. Helping people is, you know, like that's important to do. That makes you feel good, you know, and like
helper's high, right? It's a thing.
Right, totally. So, but connecting with people, quiet, meditative stuff, you know, dancing, music, play is a huge one, you know, like I have a friggin' skateboard in my studio from when I was 12 years old, but I grew up skateboarding, so I've skateboarded my whole life, and
Really?
I'm not like skateboarding now, but I use this skateboard to go down the hall to the bathroom, and it counts. I'm telling you, it's like, I feel like I'm 13 years old, and I'm skateboarding down, and I'm standing up, and I'm weaving down the hall. I just go there and back a couple.
Oops, did we lose you, Nick?
He's got to come back.
Oops. He's got to come back.
So, yeah, so it's fun.
We lost you for a second.
We lost you for a second. Where's Brandon?
Oh, okay. Do you see me now?
We see you.
Okay, you got me back?
You went off on your skateboard.
Oh, okay. But anyway, the skateboarding back and forth to the bathroom is just an example of cramming in something playful in your day. You know, it actually counts.
Right.
Oh, for sure. I'm thinking that would be a whole lot of fun to try in this condo. I might get in big trouble.
Yeah.
Don't try that at home.
No. No, people are asking a bazillion questions, Tamara. Should we remind them maybe to put them into a question comment?
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to miss people.
You can pop your question into the question sticker just below Nick's chin. That helps me a lot because then I don't worry about scrolling my screen and losing everything. But we should also give you an opportunity, Nick, to talk just a little bit about next week's workshop. So there could be people out here who don't know about it.
Yeah, well, you guys have a link. Is there a link for them to click on that you have?
Barbara has one, yes. So we'll put that up after.
Okay, you could put that in the comments, or I don't know wherever that link is, but that link, if you click on it, will allow you to join it. And basically, it goes Monday to Friday, and each day you'll be getting a sort of video sent early in the morning. It's a recorded lesson, and I'm teaching something really specific. It's about 20-25 minutes. And it's really dialed in, and it's, you know, it's really clear. I got rid of all the ums and everything when I'm speaking. But then later in the day, I'm going to do a deeper dive into it, and it's a live lesson. And they're going to be every day at noon. Everything's recorded, by the way, so if you miss a day, it's fine. And those are going to be an hour and a half. And it's the combination of those two things. I'll be doing live demonstrations. And we'll be going through these principles. I'm going to be going over design, value, and color. These are some of the three strongest of the 6 Art to Life principles. And I mean, this workshop just alone is an amazing it's one of the best things Art to Life does all year. And it really, we have people come back every year, and that's all they ever do are these workshops.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the workshop, we talk about a program of people who really have the time, want to do more. But that's at the end, and it's really about this free workshop, and we just teach our heart out, and we have all these gifts and like prizes and stuff we give away. So it's going to be really fun. But it's all about getting the folks who are there to make progress and have those aha moments where suddenly they can see their art in a different way. And I mean, really, that's what it's about. Like, you don't need a lot of materials for this thing. Just bring a black and white, bring a dark pencil or a felt pen and a piece of paper, but it'll give you some information that you can see your art in a different way that'll help you get unstuck. And it's powerful.
I'm bringing a stack of panels that I need to resolve. That's what I'm bringing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's really fun because every year, people like they're excited because you make progress with this. Like, I love that. I love that you just can like get some information, as a person who teaches. It's like walking, showing someone how to ride a bike. All of a sudden they're riding around the parking lot. And it's like, oh my God, they just were terrified a minute ago, but now they're doing it,
No, that's true. I got a question here. I'm just going to pull it up.
Oh, while you're pulling it, sorry. Well, I'm just going to add to that, Nick. You are known for over-delivering. So when you promise this much, you give this much. And, and that's a marvelous quality.
Well,
it was, put that out there.
It's just, you just say things many different ways. And I know, because I'm an artist, that you have to ask a lot of questions, and you have to see things a whole bunch of times. I'm not like super quick out of the gate. If someone has explained something to me, I have to like listen, and then I got to say it back to them, and then they got to correct it, and then I got to try it, and then I got to ask them again. So there's a lot of redundancy, but that's how we learn. Yeah. And so that's sort of how I teach. But we're really into this, and we know it works. That's why this is so fun, is because we have a track record. So we do kind of over deliver. Sometimes it was a bit of a problem in the beginning because I think I exhausted people because I was so concerned they weren't going to get it. I gave them too much.
But here's another live we're doing,
and that can back
on Saturday.
It's like, enough already. But it's just hard. I'm just excited about it,
Pretty asked a question. The question I put up was, what do you do when you get stuck in a painting, Nick? Because this topic comes up every week on No Brush Required.
Well, you got to look at it, identify what parts are working. And this is job one in the free workshop. This is what we're going to be really looking at. So I'm not going to, spend a lot of time talking about this, but, the clues to the answer to this often is in the painting itself. Looking at what part you do like in the work and understanding it based on the principles that I'll be teaching, why it's working. So once you understand that, like if a car has a flat tire, and it's like, well, probably, there's something to do with, these look good over here, but this isn't. How can I make this flat tire more like, that's where the problem lies. So it's really, the clues are in the work, but you need the principles in order to sort of troubleshoot. Usually it has to do with the pattern of lightness and darkness, the value, where your eye goes. Your eye moves to where the greatest contrast is. And often we just make someone look in one place and it's kind of boring. So it's all about that. You're creating a piece of theater in a way when you make a painting. And the experience is amazing. If you've been to real dud plays and you've been to really amazing ones. Well, there's variety in an amazing play. There's a through line, we look at the main character and then we see all the subordinate characters. So there's a bunch of things here that it's about curation, it's about discernment, but then it's learning how to show what you love in a clear way. And that's how the principles come into this.
Yeah.
That's great. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. That's great. Fantastic.
Can I just throw something out there that's like a confession to what, almost 150 people here? I went to art school for 4 years in New York City, studied illustration. It was a fabulous program. I learned more from the free workshop than I did in those 4 years. The 4 years were great, a wonderful experience. But here's my confession. I didn't know what value was. Well, like I did not know what value was. I came out of that but you explained it. It's like, that's value. Now I get it after, 6 years on the planet.
It was a little bit, I went to an amazing art school, but it was full of incredible teachers, but everyone kind of had their specialty. So you kind of go around, and some people you resonate with, but there wasn't anybody kind of showing you how to become an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no trade school for this, I'm seeing Rui in the comments, and I remember having conversations with her at a workshop a number of years ago, like, how do you put all this together, and getting clarity about what it is, and then how to put it out there, and oh my God, it's just such a minefield. But I don't know why that is. I don't know why the information. I mean, I don't know why the information's not given out. I don't know. But when you can take something that's really complicated and make it simple for people, people are smart. They can move on this. I mean, Rue is a perfect example. I mean, her work just took off, and it was just, I just see people in the comments. I know their work, and it's like, well, them too, and this too. Just give them the information. Give people the information and a little bit of coaching, and just watch what happens. They don't need, Rui is teaching herself art now. She doesn't need to be constantly taking workshops all the time. Like once you get this thing going, I mean, you want to do that to get new feedback and new information, but you want to be able to teach yourself and become a lifelong learner and be able to create a practice that's sustainable and really, really fun. Like as long as that's going, who cares if you never arrive? You're learning, your work's getting better. I don't know. That's a home run.
Yeah, no, for sure.
One of the questions I was thinking about was, you've done all these amazing things and asking what's next, and everybody's saying you need to write a book.
Oh,
it's right here, you guys. It's right here, and I was working on it this morning. I'll
awesome.
give you a confession. I started this book. I met an amazing literary agent in 2017 who took my workshop, and I didn't know who she was. And she had this really fun time, and she said, have you ever thought about, you should do a book, like what you're doing. It's incredible. And I was so blown away because she's a pretty big deal. And, that just kind of validated. And I actually had started this book. I told you that story when everything fell apart. I started writing at that time, but I didn't have any followers or anything. And I was told that you can never publish anything if no one knows who you are. So I thought, well, I can't do that, but I'll blog instead. So I've been doing that all these years. But anyway, I started this book, and I said, and I tried, and I wrote a bunch of stuff, and I shared it with her. And I wrote the way I make art, which is a complete hot mess. I mean, it was crazy, but I didn't really, I just figured, well, this is a creative person. She'll get it. This is just like such a rough draft. And she looked at this and it was like, this is just a mess. And I can't use this. And it was really hard. Like, I actually wasn't very good at this, the challenge was, if someone has a painting in front of them, I can stand up all day and talk about stuff because it relates to their art. But now I'm writing a book and they don't have a painting in front of them. And who am I talking to? Anyway, it took a couple years of figuring it out and developing, and she's like a pretty tough gatekeeper. She's like not going to let me do something crappy. So, it'll be good. And I'm on it now. And so this book proposal is getting really close. But anyway, it was a bit of a ego blow, frankly, that I couldn't translate it. I can do it in a video. I can stand up and talk and I don't need the right words, and I can use my hands. But when you write, you can't do that. You have to be, there's more concision involved.
Yes.
And I understand that now. So it's been a big learning thing, you know, like why we think we've got to be so good when we haven't done anything right away. I do, but it's coming, you know, it's coming. And I really, really appreciate that you guys think that it would be a good thing to do, because I'm in the thick of it right now, making it.
Well, it sounds like you've already sold all the advanced copies today.
I think we're all buying.
Right. And, you know, Rui's saying, get an artist ghostwriter. And it's funny because of course, but I didn't want to do that. You know, like I want to make this. I'm a maker. Why would I give, you know, I'll get lots of coaching on it, but I want to craft this. I wanted to learn to write, and I don't care if I never get it done. I want to do this. I want to make it, you know? Yeah. So in the end of the day, it's not maybe how long it takes, it's the process. And it's been a circuitous one for the book, but I'm proud of it that I'm still in it, and it's good. Like what I'm doing now, like I got it. I know I got it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, it's almost like your podcast, which you started not that long ago.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a storyteller, right? So it's just basically taking those stories and putting them on paper. Or,
exactly. And the art of storytelling, that's a huge, I love that, you know, and my father was a storyteller, and I use story to teach. That's how I teach, you know, it's all metaphor, and I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot. I think it's just good to be always learning things. I mean, I'm learning how to interview people and do podcasts, and you know, that's good. You know, I love that. So
yeah, and we learn by doing, right? We put
totally,
we do it, and we're like, okay, well, that didn't go so well. What can we learn from the next time?
Exactly, right.
Well,
right.
I hope there's a chapter on Joe the Crow, because that I could picture that whole story.
Yeah,
and in the traffic and calling Joe back. I mean, if anybody hasn't listened to your podcast yet, they have to, because they are so interesting.
Yeah, the podcast is just, you can look up my name, or you can look up Art to Life with the number 2.
I'll add all these. I'll add all of this.
Oh, good.
That's gonna be a big list to add.
I know. I've been taking notes.
Well, you know, the podcast is a deeper dive into what fires me up, and really what it is it's how everyone's doing this journey. I mean, we all know what we're doing, but I just think it's so interesting, you know, how people are finding their way. I just think it's the coolest thing, and we don't get to, like, I just interviewed Joanne Weir. She's a chef, pretty well-known chef in the Bay Area. Well, all over, actually. Does TV shows and travels all over Europe cooking. And I just talked to her yesterday. That's why it came to mind. And her creativity, of course, is food. And, you know, her paintings are beautiful dishes she makes for people. And then they're eaten and they go away. And, you know, they disappear. But she's just on fire, you guys. She's so excited. And that is what I love. You know, I love people that are just figuring this out. And she's so alive with it, because it really is exciting when you don't really know where you're going, and you're just tracking something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what the podcast is. It's really for me to be able to chase down and deepen my learning and share that. So there's all kinds of new terrain I get to go in. I'm talking to writers now, and you know, photographers, and you know, and I think that's sometimes when I'm in my studio, that's what I like listening to. Like while people are painting, it's cool to hear about, you know, a chef and how they're making a really cool souffle or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that about a podcast, that it's, you know, it doesn't make you sit there and try and be it. You do your thing, and you get to have that infusion, you know, of it.
It's like being around creative people. This is another way for you to surround yourself with people who just keep you fired up and excited.
Yeah, right? No, absolutely. Totally.
So Tamara,
I'm the timekeeper here.
She's our time.
We like to wrap up before an hour, because Instagram Live sometimes don't save replays if you go over an hour.
Yeah, well,
we don't want to lose
concern. And this has been such a great conversation. A number of people have asked, "Are you guys saving this?" We will save it, and Barbara and I will both send out the links to where you can find it once it uploads, and once I add the show notes, and once we add the links, so that you can join in for the free workshop next week and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, great. I can't wait. It's going to be my whole week's clear for this thing, and it's going to be really, really fun. So I can't wait to see some of you guys there, and really the two of you. Thank you so much. It's just it's a privilege to talk to you.
Our pleasure.
Thanks so much for
You're
spending some
creating
time
here.
with
I
us,
mean, look what
Nicholas.
you're doing. It's just fantastic. What was that?
We lost you there for a
We
second.
lost you. I was just saying thank you very much.
Doing what you're doing. It's inspiring, and you know, really, I appreciate it.
We really appreciate the time. Thanks again.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you. This has been thrilling for all of us. So
awesome. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Workshop.
Okay, see you at the free workshop. Okay,
Bye. See you next week.
Okay, Tamara.